So good morning again, and I thought I would show you my view very quickly. And the watch I'm wearing today is a G-Shock, and this is very stealthy. I call it the Darth Vader, and there you go. But this is the office. This is the view, and I'll get on to the video. Hello once again, and I've just come from the portal right there, and I'm once again in I'm in the country, and it's very cold here, and the only reason this isn't done up is because the microphone is there, and I'm frozen, so the duration of this video, actually if I walk, and I'll walk a little faster, I'll warm up, but when you get cold I find that you lose the ability to think and talk, especially to camera. And so this is a quick walk and talk, and today I thought I would talk about the economy once again. Now I know these topics are a little bit dry, and not everybody wants to know about the economy. Plus, most people have a jolly good understanding of what the economy is doing, and for so many people, we are living hand to mouth, and it's 2022. If you think about the roaring 50s and 60s, and I speak to people that are a little bit older now, but they remember the prosperity of the 1980s, the 1990s, and the way that you could look at this. I'm going to spin around in a moment. We've got these lovely horses here, and how lovely are those? And they're looking at me thinking, what's this guy doing? Look at that, how cool. I'm going to spin around a moment so I can see them myself. Hello, aren't you lovely? Hey, you are just cool. Look at you two. Look at those. And they're being well looked after. Yes. Look at that. And hello. These guys, they're very sociable. Hey, I have to walk down here. Okay. Anyway, so back onto the economy. And so one point that that people have is that what's the difference between the 1980s, the 1990s, and today? Where's prosperity? Where's the feeling of having good times? Where's the where's this mood of prosperity? And for many people, I'm finding, this is my opinion, that they aren't really experiencing or have this underlying feeling of prosperity. It's more that they are coping. People seem to have a feeling of coping. Now, I've spoken to chaps that, to people that are, surviving. In the UK, we call it just about managing. I think they use the acronym JAMS, just about managing. And when you hear that term, you'd be forgiven for thinking about, very poor people, and that is true. But I'm actually talking about professionals with jobs, very good jobs. They have mortgages and expensive German cars, and they certainly have the feeling that they are just about managing. And so we're talking about people that have worked very hard from the age of 16, from the age of 18. They are working very hard in their 20s, and they'll be in their mid-30s, and with a mortgage that is horrifying, and and they've bought a car, and they are just about managing. When they tell you how much money they've actually got, what their disposable income is, it is frightening, because if anything goes wrong or they lose their job, within 3 months they're financially in a lot of trouble. And that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for a family, for an individual. But imagine being the breadwinners of a family, and one of you loses your job, and instantly that means that you don't have enough income coming in, and your house is under pressure. And this isn't poor people. This is educated people that may have been to university, may not, that are working very hard, doing a very good job, and they have found themselves in a position where they can't service all the debt that they have. I think it's terrible, and I think these days their mortgage prices is absolutely terrible. If you compare the cost of a mortgage today against a mortgage in the 80s, 90s and the noughties, only 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, the cost of mortgages today is shocking. Some people might say, hold on, the interest is much less, but that's not really what I'm pointing at. I'm pointing at the cost of the property as well, and the size of the mortgage, and also the size of the mortgage against income. It's absolutely massive. And that is not the, so I'm told that's not the way we used to live 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, and certainly not 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when the cost of a house in relation, was much cheaper. I've had people in their 60s and 70s tell me that when they were in their teenage years and early 20s, if you went to university and got basically any degree, you then really could walk into any field of education, any career that you liked, and maybe re-educate yourself, or it would be instantly transferable. But you were likely to have a good job, and you were likely to then go out, get married, and then buy a house, or maybe a new house, and buy a new car. And this is at the age of 24. And you didn't have to go to university to do that. You could leave school, get an apprenticeship, get some skill, and work your way up. And this would happen for many people. And in your 20s, once again, you could go out into the marketplace and get a mortgage quite easily, buy a house and buy a car. And this was achieved easily. It wasn't difficult to do this. Today, you try that today, and I'm looking at people with who are educated, fresh out of university, or even have been out of university for 5 years, have been doing various jobs, and maybe even a job of their choice in the industry of their choice. They still cannot go out and get a mortgage and a car. That option is too far away from them, unless, of course, they have wealthy parents that have helped them greatly. And we're not talking about a few £1,000s here. You have to have a lot of money. So we know that something has happened. We know that changes are afoot. We know there's a problem. Is it just nature? Is it just times change? Is it something that's to do with evolution, that sort of thing? And someone like me has the opinion no, because all these changes can be understood. And really all you have to do is use a thought process and a skill set of deconstruction. And what I find so interesting at university and many government-run educational environments, the process of deconstruction people tend to shy away from for some reason. And I always find that so interesting, because I think, yeah, the reason that perhaps they don't like deconstruction is that when people perform deconstruction, they end up understanding stuff. And maybe a group of people or an industry, you know, has vested interest in individuals not fully understanding stuff. And so that's why deconstruction to some people is like speaking a foreign language. But all it means is that you take apart something that's complex and understand how the damn thing works. Now, so when someone like me looks at the economy or looks at an industry, and I suppose at this point I'm looking at macroeconomics, but, you know, more society view. You know, I'm trying to understand what is the single thing, or what's a small number of major things that impact this change. Now, very quickly, you will hear, you know, perhaps in the news and other places that, you know, technology is a significant thing and it changes society. And whoa, baby, that is correct. What I've worked out, in my opinion, is that technology is probably the single most important and can be devastating change to society. Because what technology does, and even if you don't think about it and you sit back and don't do anything, technology is going to end up reducing labour-intensive activity. And over time, what we've done, we've built economies on labour activity, because it's the mechanism in which value is created. Long story short, if you have a cheap labour base compared to another country or another industry that has a higher cost labour base, if the costs are the same, well then you are likely to be more competitive, because that cost is less. Simple as that. Now, so that is a natural society-based thing on industry and society anyway. But then we have simply the fact that technology gets better, and technology reduces labour-intensive activity. So you can see here we've got a couple of dynamics converging on the same problem, and both of them are creating less jobs and also putting massive amounts of pressure on reducing the value of that job in terms of income to the worker. So you can see things are starting to get tricky. They make things competitive. Now at that point I can say there's also one side effect here that's a positive, and it's that the products and services get better. In particular the product. Anything that's technology related is going to be a thing that gets much better. And so we as the consumers, the users, you know, we enjoy that. And but we still have, I haven't mentioned climate change or population growth yet. And we know that these are, you know, hot button issues. So I don't know if you can see where this conversation is going, but with broad strokes, I'm highlighting once again these massive things that impact society and impact this feeling of prosperity. You know, what's going on. Now, you know, I keep mentioning things that are top level issues that themselves require an awful lot of understanding and discussion. And what I'm trying to do is actually bring all these big button items together to get them onto a table and turn them into knobs and levers so we can understand society, so we know exactly, what are the inputs to society that create the outputs. And what you're trying to do is get some knobs and levers on those inputs to understand the outcome. Now, of course, one part of society, has crime and fraud and theft, and so I suppose that's something I can park right now, because we haven't got there yet. That does cause a lot of trouble, and crime itself and antisocial behaviour could be one of the side effects of a changing society, and I bet you that is the case. But I'm looking more at the geopolitical items and the economic items to understand this. So in this video, I suppose the couple of things that I'm really talking about here is technology changes and the very simple economic challenges that technology presents us. Once again, technology presents us with massive opportunity and better products and services. And also, it does make things more productive and more cost effective. Some of it does. The negative is it does have a relationship to reducing labour intensive activity, and that can have a social knock-on effect of reducing wages and reducing jobs. And some people will say, in recent modern history, we've been here before with the Luddites and society smashing up machines that reduced the textile manufacturing jobs, and we know about that, and it's real. And okay, so we're going back to technology and people, and this general mood of things aren't that prosperous. Now, there will be people that perhaps have just received a wage rise. Things seem to be going well for them at work. They are paying their bills and they're able to save some money. And the fact that they can save some money means that they've got their house in order in one respect. And so for them, their world and their life might be very well. So of course they might say, hey Stephen, in actual fact life's pretty good. I'm enjoying all my high-tech products and my electric car, and I seem to be enjoying it. And that is absolutely fine. That's their work, that's their environment, and that's their experience. There is nothing wrong with that. But I can't help but to think about the large number of people that aren't experiencing that seem to be experiencing hell every day. And it's a constant fight to pay bills for them, and it's a constant worry about their job, employment. They're in a hard job anyway. They're worried about being sacked, and they're also looking for other employment. They know that if they're not in a job, they could be in trouble if they don't find another job soon enough. And people will say, yes, throughout history we've always had this situation. We can't all sit down and do nothing, because if we did that, the milk wouldn't arrive in the supermarket, and on. But what is going on here today, January 2023? Why haven't we? Why is the news the way the news is? Because the news is filled with scandal, corruption, and the government isn't working very well. Or we've got a little bit about Elon Musk flying us all to Mars. Or we've got US politics that, I find more of an entertainment. It's more of something to watch and be entertained by, especially when Trump announces that he's back in the game. And I was delighted. I thought, it's going to be interesting listening to this guy say what he does. And, I do find US politics hilarious. Now, I'm English, so, the UK politics is also quite funny. And I do find it very cruel sometimes by the media, to keep victimizing politicians, though they probably deserve it. But, they seem to like a person they can blame for something. The British public is like that. The British media is like that. Anyway, back to the economy. There's a lot of doom and gloom. We have a war instigated by Russia in Ukraine. We have artificial intelligence that frightens a lot of people, and I think it's mainly because they don't really understand it. We have a little bit of China saber rattling. In fact, we've got everyone saber rattling around the world. If you want canaries in the mine for World War III, we have them right now. In fact, it's only a couple of years ago that I said to a number of people that that would ask about international trade, and one of my responses has been identify those canaries around the world, and they will signify World War III. One of those canaries for me has always been the South China Sea and Russia, and we've certainly got Russia right now upset. Although I think I don't know enough to really offer what I feel comfortable it being a valid opinion. I don't know enough. I can only offer my opinion. But the mood music and what's happening, it isn't good. Okay, so we have unrest, we have technology advancements, and one aspect of that is artificial intelligence. We have cost of living. Now, yes, some people are going to say, Stephen, the cost of living is because of the war in Russia, because Russia has stopped a lot of hydrocarbon fuels being delivered. So we have a natural economic problem there. So that's fine, we understand that. But also, what else is going on? Now, this is where I bring population growth into the picture and climate change. Because if climate change is real, and I believe it is, that will have an impact on growing crops, an impact on food production for sure, and population growth. Now, some people simply think that population growth is perhaps good for business because it creates more consumers, it's good for competition, it's good for the workforce. I think that's a terrible general opinion, especially if they then say, the world can sustain loads of people and we should all be allowed to keep reproducing. I can't see how that works. And I bet you bottom dollar you could extract the data of population growth against natural resource usage and production outputs, and it's probably not going to paint a very good picture. In fact, that picture is probably going to clearly illustrate that we have certain amount of jobs and a large number of people are going to be unemployed. So those unemployed people are going to will have to find some other way to live that produces an income. And this is why you've heard a few times now over the last 10 years about the social income. I forget its name, where the government pays you some sit-down money, and that allows you to survive and potentially, find other employment. These things are big. These are big challenges to society, and they're massive challenges to the government. And one thing that frightens me is that if you go back in history, when we've had things similar to this, some people will say, do you know what's good for society right now? A world war, because it gives a lot of people something to do. It allows a lot of other people have a purpose, and the rebuilding of it is a great opportunity to rebuild and brings prosperity. So a war sort of works. Believe me, I can probably argue that one. But I've heard many people explain that in recent modern history, wars do that. Right, so look at the mood music. You know, look at the music that we have today. Look at this geopolitical landscape that we have, and look at what is going on. Whoa, baby! There's a lot of concern there, and you know, one of the things that I say to myself is, I've said to other people is, you know, just relax, slow things down, and be very slow to speak and very quick to hear, because right now we all need to be collecting data, understanding, and then planning based on best practice policy and best practice strategies. And we all want to be calm, composed, and think very carefully about the future, because we're heading to a point where we can change the future, you know, quite drastically. You know, to shoot off into the conspiracy territory, we could have a one-world government. And believe me, I've had people explain to me, and I've had discussions with about, you know, how do we make a one-world government work? How does China, Russia, and America sit down, all agree on things and shake hands? It's unbelievable, isn't it? But I'm not sure a one-world government would work, not right now. But gosh, it's a serious discussion, because you can see how that could end up being a thing, and you could really see how it could, you know, be managed as well. And then we are straight over to, you know, the entire game is policy driven. Your country, your life, the world we live in, you know, is run by policy. And one of the big risks of everything being run by policy is that instead of market forces and natural economics determining what works, if we had something like a one-world government, policy would be determined by a human being. So it means that the whim of man would be how every other man lives. That wouldn't be good, I don't think. Anyway, I'm frozen, and my brain is saying, Stephen, get some warmth. And anyway, the positive is we are talking about it. We have the internet, we have technology that enables us to do our jobs and understand. And I think generally, if we all slow down, stop and think, and we communicate with everyone, we are much more able to have understanding, even before we try and fix things again and again. Anyway, at that I shall say good morning, and hopefully speak to you all again soon.